Good afternoon and welcome to the Council. I'm your host, Charlie Pacello. It's been a couple weeks, folks. So happy to be here and so glad that you're joining us this Friday afternoon. It's a beautiful day out here in Colorado. And I hope wherever you're listening from, wherever you're at, I hope it's a beautiful day out there as well. Just want to do a quick shout out to our sponsor here, the sponsor of the Council, magicfinancing.com. If you need a car, you need a used car, you need having trouble financing for a car, these are the people to go to. We've been going to Magic Financing for years. Maurizio has been helping our family, my mom and dad, myself, my brothers and sisters, my nephews, for 3 or 4 decades now. And so please go to them. They are the best in town. If you need help with a car, talk to Maurizio, magicfinancing.com. They are the people that help you get you into the car of your dreams. Also want to point out that I have a book out, and it's such a, as we're going through these challenging times right now, these times that are testing all of us. They're testing our resiliency. They're testing our ability to perceive the truth. Are testing us in ways that we never realized we would be tested in. And there's just so much out there, so much misinformation, so many people trying to dissuade you from doing the things that are necessary at this time. They're coming from all ends. They're coming from whether it's you're liberal, whether you're conservative. There are people that are out there trying to prey on your mind. It's like a psychic virus. They want to take it. They want to control it. They want to manipulate it. They want to make your soul dance. Don't let them do that. Stay away from it. Stay in the truth. Stay in the understanding that life is what matters. We're here. We've got to do the right thing right now. We can get to figuring out all these other things later on, but right now we've got to be able to stay centered, stay balanced, stay congruent within yourselves. Don't get pulled in all these different directions. One of the best ways to be able to do that is to say, you know what, is this causing me fear? Is this creating fear? Is this creating dissension in me? Is this creating separation? Am I angry after I listen to this? Or is this giving me a sense of understanding and wisdom and balance and perspective and bringing harmony? You're going to feel that. You've got to know how you feel about those things, because people will try to put on that they're a doctor, or that maybe they have those doctor degrees, but they're not coming from a place of authenticity. They're not coming from a place of genuineness and sincerity. There's something there, and you know what? That you've got to be able to perceive it. And if it causes you any kind of disturbance, stay away from it. Stay away from it. It's happening to my mom. It's happening to old people in my life. It's friends of mine on the left and right. It's just, please, the psychic viruses are just as real as regular viruses. They will recruit your soul to own it. And you've got to stay away from it. Stay away. Stay with what's really important in your life. Get connected to your soul. And one of the ways you can do that is you can, I wrote a book that helps you. It's a self-help book for the soul. It's called Meditations with Masters of the Axial Age. It's an easy book to read with profound insights and wisdom, not from me, from some great masters that have stood the test of time. And you'll be able to listen to their truths and their understandings of the human condition and how we move through suffering, how we move through challenges, how we move through crises. Very often these masters understood that in order for us to reach another level of enlightenment, whatever that enlightenment may be, more compassion, more understanding, more wisdom, more kindness, more forgiveness in our hearts, we had to go through suffering. We had to go through these things. They understood it was a prerequisite for us to reach that stage of that higher stage of our evolution. So listen to them. They have stood the test of time, and I've compiled 6 masters for you in here. You read their teachings. There's a meditation that goes with it, and then there's some questions for you to answer for yourself. Because any teacher worth anything is going to have you ask questions, because it's self-inquiry. Self-knowledge, understanding the nature of your soul. And that's your responsibility, to understand your nature, the nature of your own soul, not letting somebody else dictate how you should live your life or what you should do, or tell you to think differently. Think for yourselves and understand that you've got to be able to nurture and cultivate these truths from Socrates, from Lao Tzu, from Ezekiel, from the Buddha and others. And they'll help you to navigate through these difficult times so you're not pulled in all these different directions and you can see things clearly. And please check it out. It's on storebookbaby.com. You can buy it. You can also buy it on Amazon, Barnes and Noble. You can get it in paperback, an ebook. Once some of these stay-at-home measures are relaxed, we're going to be doing some workshops on this because it's really important, really, really important at this time. And today we're talking about leadership. We're talking with one of the supreme experts in the field about leadership right now in not only the state of Colorado but in our country. And leadership, there's a vacuum for it. You know, I think we confuse leadership with being a strong person and we've got to fight our way through it. But it's also being able to lead people in a way by example, leading from a place of where you're heart-centered and you're able to serve the highest good for the most people. You lead for the sake, on behalf of the whole, for the sake of humanity, or on behalf of your state, for the sake of everyone who lives here, or your nation, whatever it is, however you can connect to it. But that's what great leadership is: being selfless and serving. How does this serve all of us in the best way possible? And I came from a military background. I was a military officer for a few years. And so I was able to perceive and watch and understand, leaders that were very effective and leaders that were not very effective, and the differences between them, and those that really were able to say, I'm going to jump into this just as like I'm asking you to jump into this, because they were leading from the front. Usually got a lot more people involved into whatever they wanted us to do than for those people that were sitting back and say, you go do this, you go do this, you go do that. It didn't inspire people to join you on this purpose, on this mission. And I always wondered if leadership could be cultivated and developed. Was it something that was innate to us? Are some people just born leaders, or can we cultivate it? Can we nurture it in people? Is there a kernel of that in everybody? Well, today's guest is going to help us to understand that. She is amazing. Her name is Rocio A. Perez. She is the principal of Inventiva Consulting. Ms. Perez is an expert with more than 20 years in developing talent and energizing teams, designing and executing businesses and market strategies that help businesses have an even more profitable future by saving them time, energy, and money. She's the former president and CEO of Definitive Marketing, a multicultural marketing consulting firm. Rocio is a dynamic bicultural entrepreneur who has developed innovative strategies with a focus on multicultural markets and social responsibility. Ms. Perez's current and past clients have included, listen to this, the University of Wisconsin, Centro Hispano de Milwaukee, City and County of Denver, Denver Public Health, Department of Economic Development of Longmont. She has served as an expert panelist for the 3rd Annual Innovations in Hispanic Marketing Conference and the Latino Chamber of Commerce of Boulder County, and presented at the Knights Foundation NAEYC National Conference, the Colorado Association for Bilingual Education, the La Raza Youth Leadership Conference, and at the World Trade Center in Tijuana, Mexico. Ms. Perez's workshops include inspiring greatness, creating the life you want, how to create a roadmap for success, learning the secrets of marketing, and the strategic marketing formula. And she was nominated for the 2013 Inspirational Leader of the Year for the San Diego Magazine's Latinos Making a Difference Award. She has co-authored several published works, including The Parents Are the Power, Toolkit for Creating Change, and the article Multicultural Marketing and Consumer Well-Being in Underserved Hispanic Neighborhoods, published in the International Journal of Social Health Information Management. Rocio's former leadership roles and affiliations include the president of NSHMBA, San Diego chapter, the Greater San Diego Business Association, the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, and the National Association Hispanic Real Estate Professionals, Colorado and California, just to name a few. And she is also the author of the book Unstoppable: 7 Steps to Becoming a More Intentional Leader, which is an Amazon bestseller. Her website is www.inventivaconsulting.com. Welcome to the show, Rosario. Rocio.
Rocio. I love it. I love it. I should take you everywhere with me. I must invite you to do my introductions. You're quite superb on there. So thank you so much, Charlie. Such a pleasure to be here with you today. I am so touched, moved, and inspired by your leadership and what you've accomplished as well, and what you're doing to help bring this information out into society. You're right. It is about how do we impact people all over, whether it's in our city, our state, our community, our country, and in the world. How do we do that in this moment right here, right now? I love that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Lorena. It's so important for us to be able to step up, I think, today, and to be able not to shy away from the light that lives within us. This is an opportunity of immense possibility if we look at it in the correct way. And we can't allow our fears to keep us imprisoned in our minds and allowing the outside influences try to control and manipulate us. And I think that's why people like you, Rocio, and others who are leaders in their community need to stand up and show people this is how we can do it. This is what we can do right now together. And we start small. We start in our families. We start in our communities, and we grow from there. We're not trying to take a bigger bite of the sandwich than we need to. We just need to focus on what we can. And Rocio, could you share? You have such an immense, incredible resume, and the things that you have accomplished within your community and our state. Could you share just with the audience a little bit about your background and how you came to doing the work that you're doing today?
I'm going to start from the beginning. I was a little girl with a dream. I dreamt of becoming a teacher so that I could inspire people. And I'd run around with my tattered books, and I would tell anyone that would listen. And at that time, it was my Uncle said, someday I'm going to grow up and I'm going to become a teacher. So I would inspire people. And I would run around and tell anyone that would ever listen to my dream. And I remember reminiscing with my brother and saying, hey, brother, what are you going to be when you grow up? This is what my life is going to look like. And he would share what his life would look like. The reality was different, Charlie. I grew up in extreme poverty and circumstances. Life was different. Abuse, chaos, you name it, everything under the moon. And by the time I was 12 years old, after having lived 13 times, I decided to run away from home. I figured I would create my own reality at that age and figure that out. So to continue to move forward 2 years later, and life was better. It wasn't ideal. And I was always curious what made people tick. You asked where that inspiration came from. I always wondered, why do people do what they do? Mm-hmm. And how do they do what they do? And for what reasons? And everything in between. I always felt that. We come from love to love, through love to love. Yeah. And that's really what it's all about. Mm-hmm. This world was meant for that. As children, we grow up and we're excited. And, a baby's not asking, do I have permission to be here? Do I have permission to be loved? Do I have permission to whatever? And so knowing that instinctually, one of the greatest assets and gifts that I've had from my childhood in extreme adversity was extreme compassion and empathy. And figuring out, that vision that stayed with me because of that adversity, I was able to remain with that curiosity in life and just creating things. Life was different, Charlie. I was pregnant at 14. I ran away again at 14. So I had lived with my parents as I was 12. At 14, I ran away with my 22-year-old boyfriend. By 15, I had a baby. Instead of having quinceañera or going to homecoming party, here I was now raising a child. And at 15, I was also knocking on the colleges down the door, down the street, so that I can go to college, emancipating myself, divorcing my parents legally at the age of 15, so I could go to university. I had a 6th grade education. Okay. Wow. And in that time, life uphill both ways, 8 hours a day on a bus to and from school, 4 4 hours in the morning, 2 hours to go drop off my son, 2 hours to get to school. Same route, 8 hours a day, go to school, do my best. I did whatever it took to do. And it also, whatever was inside of me, which still is to this day, it keeps on drawing me towards it. It's like, come over here. Like, bring me, let's bring these gifts and these talents into the world. If too much is given, much is expected on that. And we all have these gifts inside of us. So I continue to nurture and hone in and help people. By the time I was 17, I was in management. By the time I was 19, I was mentoring students so that they can get into school, through school. They were more educated than I was. Some had graduated from high school, others were on their second careers, some were old enough to be my parents. It was just a privilege to be there in that time. And so moving through all that, what I learned for all those years, it was almost 17 years down the road that I figured, I said, wow, what is it? What is it about my words? What is it about my leadership? What is it with my way of being? How does a person who has a third grade education in their country, how have I impacted them to graduate from the institution of higher ed, pursue federal credential in education, and make it happen? How is that possible, right? And knowing that leadership was it. It was a gift that I later fully embraced thanks to that. So that's where my life started off. Like, why I'm passionate is because we all have potential. It is inside of all of us. We all have something to bring to this world. And once we're shining our light, the world is even more amazing.
I totally agree with that. I mean, when the more we allow people to shine their light, not feeling like it's being able to, like you're losing anything by empowering somebody. And I think that's one of the secrets that is of great leaders is to be able to empower other people to shine their light, to shine their power, to show their gifts, to show their talents, rather than feeling it as a threat. That I have to compete now with this person on some level because I'm so afraid to empower them. If they empower, it's somehow a threat to me. For great leadership, just like what you had described, here you come from abject poverty, challenges, trials, abuse, and you didn't let that stop you. You could have gone in two different directions, Rosa. You could have gone in two different. You could have taken that one path, and it could have led you down, and you would have just stayed stuck in that environment, in that world, in that atmosphere, in that psychology that would have kept you down. But you didn't. You kept moving forward, and I love inspirational stories like that because it shows the immense strength of the human spirit, the resiliency that everyone is born with and has. Rocio, what is probably the hardest thing you have ever had to overcome in your life?
Wow, that's a great question. Like, the hardest thing I had to overcome is to believe that I was enough, that I was worth it. And I would say I combined a few things in there. Know that I was enough, know that it was worth it, and to love myself. I would say that to know. There was a point in my life where I had students who would tell me, like, Garcia, your life must be amazing. We're talking well over a decade ago. Your life must be amazing because look at you. You're educated, you're on billboards, you're in magazines, you're on TV, you're here, you're there, you're everywhere. And I would say, wow, like, I could have given up anything, Charlie, anything, to have what I wanted. And what I wanted wasn't for me to have in that moment, right? For what I wanted was my mother's love. It's like, I would give up my education. I would give up anything, like if I could have an extraordinary relationship with her. And that wasn't possible. That was just life, right? That was a process of me becoming. And when I learned to love myself, that no longer mattered. Like, who loves me? It doesn't matter. Like, I don't care. At this point in my life, like, people are like, oh my God, Lucia, what if you say something wrong in public? I'm human, okay? It doesn't take that away from me. And to know that I'm worthy enough. I'm worthy of success. I'm worthy of life. I'm worthy to have the best of the best, to have everything there for me, and to be able to shine my light and be free to speak and share my gift for who I am and what I'm doing in my life.
So good.
That's the beauty of it.
So brilliant. I think you're right. That is one of the greatest hurdles that a human being can overcome. Is the feeling when they get to I'm enough. When they get to that place of I'm enough.
Yes.
Just as I am, I don't have to compete with, this person, this CEO, or this entrepreneur or this teacher or this doctor or whoever it may be, your boss. I'm enough. And when you get there and you stop the self-sabotage, you stop those efforts that goes on in all of us, where you second guess yourself, in the choices you make, and is this right? And, oh my gosh, what if I say something silly or really ridiculous? What are people going to think? And all that. Once you get past that, then I'm enough, and just the way I am. And yep, that is one of the most liberating and most empowering moments I think that anybody could ever experience in their life. And I struggled with that for years, and that's why I think it's what you said there is so profound, because then it opens up your whole life, because now you feel unstoppable, because you are. You're literally unstoppable.
You own it.
Yeah.
I mean, a 2-year-old knows they're unstoppable. You might want to hit a record. That on there, a 2-year-old knows they're unstoppable. A 2-year-old knows that they're willing to give the best of the best that they have for them, right? If they want a toy, they're going to go to the ground if they need to. They're going to make a ridiculous, right? They're going to want to do this over and over again. And that's the beauty of it. When do we take that action for ourselves? What are we doing that is connecting at that level, that we're saying, hey, no matter what, I'm going to do this. No matter what, this is it. And you named something really, really important at the very beginning of the interview. You said the prison. Like the prison, we're jailed in our own minds. We're thinking that it's somebody outside of us that's doing something to us when everything is inside of us. Our entire world is experienced twice. Once within us and once outside of us, right? And it could go over and over and over. And maybe we experienced that a million times. Somebody did something supposedly to us, yet in reality we did it to ourselves. Okay, let's just call it like it is, right?
Yeah.
I was like, oh, somebody did something to me. No. When I started taking responsibility, 100% responsibility about my own feelings and my own reactions and my own way of being and showing up, then I freed myself. I freed myself because nobody was doing anything to me. Even if the person said, hey, you're mean, and I'm like, thank you. I love that about myself, right? There's a lot of the time it's like, is it a perception or is it protection? What's going on? And when I completely own all of me, whatever that looks like, then that gets me empowered. It gets me in a state where I can truly be me. Right now, before pre-COVID-19, we had 78% of individuals that did not feel psychologically safe. Let's just talk about that. What is the impact on the business right there? What is the impact on life? When people are running around like, I'm too afraid to say something, I'm too afraid to express, yet they have the solution, and the solution's at your table. And unfortunately, they're not sharing it around the conference room table because they're afraid. Now, coupled with, okay, let's just throw a few statistics out there. Let's go ahead and put the 93% of leaders that don't feel that they have the knowledge and skills and abilities pre-COVID-19 to lead others. And they don't want to deal with emotions. They think that leadership is emotions. And then let's take the 66% of individuals who didn't even like their job to begin with. You know that there's more heart attacks on a Monday on the way to work, particularly experienced by men, because at the end of the day, what does that tell us? There's some people that say, hey, most people would rather have a heart attack on the way to work than get to work, right?
That's right. It's like, oh, not again. I mean, I've had those days on those Mondays, like, well, before I was doing this work, I remember feeling that, oh gosh, I don't want to do that. And so, you feel that anxiety, that stress, that tension. Your mind goes into this emergency mode, and all of a sudden you're thinking about all those things, and your body overwhelms. It shuts down over time.
Right. And I really see it, sometimes individuals, as I'm in conferences, they say, I just don't get it, or I get it, like I went into this job because my mom and my dad, and that's why I don't want to let them down, and I'm the first person in college and this degree or whatever it may be. And so they're really not following what makes their heart sing. If you're doing what makes your heart sing every day, then it's never a job, right? And then when we see it from that perspective is, are people flowing through work? To me, being in a place of alignment is that people are dancing, they're excited, they're connecting, they're empathetic, they're acknowledging people. Nobody's taking anything away from them. Making that person's life better, making this organization better at the end of the day. And when this organization is better, this team is better, so is everybody. It just trickles from there. Our lives are happier. What do they say? recently they were talking about how a lot of kids who are bullies, it's because their parents don't like their job. You can only imagine that. They had a study and they realized it wasn't because the parents were working long hours or were being paid little money, whatever it was because their parents went to a job that they didn't like.
Wow,
And therefore, that impacted the children. And let's take a look at that. Even Anthony Robbins would say that. You know, here's a husband who has an argument with his boss, and he's thinking about that argument. He gets home and he's like at a peak level, really upset. First person he sees is his wife. Now he transfers that energy, and he links that energy on a subconscious level to his wife. She has nothing to do with it. She doesn't even have a clue what happened at work. And now marital problems may start because of the lack of awareness. Because again, the world is experienced on the inside, not on the outside. And yet we're reacting on the outside. Therefore, we're not responding internally.
Well, and that's so important for people to get. And once you get that, and once you really understand the nature of how life works and how we are the author and responsible for how we perceive the world and how we respond to it. And that is ultimately our responsibility, that the stimulus that comes in, whatever that stimulus is, whether it's an angry boss, whether it's somebody who's trying to overcompensate for their perceived lack of or inability to be a leader within their group, so they feel like they have to become very demanding and tyrannical and authoritative and look at me, and now you're responding. You get to choose how you want to respond to that. You don't have to just be in reaction mode or just take it or whatever. And a lot of times people just don't feel like they can really stand up for themselves in those situations because they feel like they have no alternative. And when you start empowering yourself and start recognizing I am responsible for how I experience my life. And when I take that kind of responsibility, I get to choose how I respond to these situations. I don't allow the situation to try to form me, to dictate to how I respond. And you don't allow your circumstances to control you. You control the circumstances, how you respond to it. And Rocio, in today's world, there's so many moving parts. There's so many things that are going in so many different directions in politics and economics. We've got the COVID-19 pandemic happening right now. How do we get grounded when we're experiencing all this fear, all this uncertainty, and all this overwhelm?
Well, let's be very frank. Stop experiencing it. Stop experiencing the fear.
That's it.
Stop experiencing the overall. Like, make that decision. Right. I recently heard an interview. There's a number of psychologists that would say, "Hey, they're interviewing this gentleman who has an addiction. It's like, why? How are you going to let go of drinking? How are you going to let go of drinking?" It's like, I just have to make a decision. You don't have to go too much into detail. I make a decision, I move forward with that decision, right? It's about that stick-to-itiveness. Like, I make a decision at this moment, and I make a decision this moment. And even if I messed up that moment before, I can make another decision right here, right now. They're the type of things that keep me grounded. I get up in the morning, I meditate. Sometimes it's 2 hours. I can even get out of bed. I'm like thinking, like, how do I get myself anchored? How do I feel the feelings of extraordinary experience that I will be having that particular day? This morning was the same thing. I've been meditating for hours. It's ordinary to see that. And then I get up and I'm working out. It's like getting myself grounded is getting that oxygen in my body. One way that I get oxygen to my body is through movement. It's through exercise. That's the time that we're going. I love to journal. I journal. I have another book coming out. I have 7 Steps to Become a More Intentional Leader, Unstoppable. And I also have the ripple effects coming out. And inside of ripple effects, I've released an exercise that is super powerful on that. And that exercise has been extraordinary in taking individuals from point A to point Z. In that, I write, it's a 21-step exercise. Who am I being in this moment? How does this person, what are the things that are going to get in the way? How do I move beyond that? When I can see what's possible, I can create what's possible, right? I can move towards it, as opposed to waiting for somebody to come in and be that cheerleader. I must be my own cheerleader. There's even a question in there. You know, are you for yourself and who are you for others? For me, I'm my best friend. I'm the best friend of others, where I will be truthful. And I see that a lot of the times we're lying to other people, like, "Yeah, you're great," and then later they're like, "No, you weren't doing great." So I want to be frank, right? Just be there. So one way is meditating. The next way is making sure that I exercise so I can get proper oxygen to the body. I love to listen to affirmations, positive videos, things that keep me inspired. I love to journal. I love to listen to positive music. And then by 7 a.m., I'm on 2 calls back to back at a minimum, right? I have 12 calls, 14 calls a week just on inspiration, 7 days a week in 2 different languages. And then I turn around and I deliver 14 other events, 15 total events online. So I must feed myself first. I come first. I'm probably one of the most selfish people you're going to meet. And I think all great leaders are selfish. All great leaders are selfish because they take care of themselves first.
Right.
They're not waiting. With the very people that we take care of, if we don't take care of ourselves first, we will end up resenting. And that's where we come like, yeah. No, everybody's always asking me for things. And I think as a woman, sometimes, because we're such caregivers too, it's like we take it on. We want to take care of mom and dad and the kids and the brother and the dog and the cat and the sister and the neighbor and whoever. And then at the end of the day, we forgot about us. It's like, how many times does a woman say, I'm going to bed already? 2 hours later, she went and she ironed, she cooked, she cleaned, she put out breakfast, lunch, whatever, prepared for dinner, took care of the homework and whatever, and all of a sudden her husband says, weren't you supposed to be going to bed? Right? Because we want to get that extra thing in. And then without that, we don't know that we're actually impacting ourselves and what's happening with us.
And the things that you're talking about in helping overwhelm, it is tried and tested and true. Those things, it is meditation. I meditate just like you in the mornings, every day. I try to go 20 to 25 minutes, sometimes 30 minutes a day, sometimes longer, but at least I get that. That's that time for me. That's that time for me to rejuvenate myself. That's for my time to connect to something higher, to feel the sense of wholeness around me, to align myself with what's before me for the day. I do my little rituals. I love exercising, whether it's hiking, yoga, or anything. But it's important for me to do those things because then I can give to others. And I think you're right. Leaders got to be a little selfish in that way because people will start pulling so much from you because they're desperate for it or they need it or whatever it may be, or they're looking to you for that guidance and that sense of trust that if you're not taking care of yourself, you'll become so depleted and so drained, and you'll be wondering why in the world do I feel like this? And it's so important for self-care, so important. And I love your company, and I want to get to your company, Rocio, and your book, because I know you got Unstoppable, and I just love the title.
Right.
And your company is amazing. It's called Inventiva, and it is a boutique consulting firm which takes a unique approach to solving organizational challenges. We utilize our passion to create new possibilities for our clients and combine this with a commitment to transformation. Rocio, who is Inventiva and what exactly do you do?
Wow. So thank you, first of all. Inventiva is this extraordinary company that I developed many years ago. And to say, how do we invent something new? And that's even where the name comes from. It's an Italian name.
Hey.
Genesis of something new. I'm like, I have the trademark on that, so just FYI.
That's okay. That's great.
And so one of the beautiful things on there is the fact that I get to create, we get to choose, we get to be into that. And how do you create a new reality within organizations? When I had my marketing company, I had continued to do leadership development, and one of the major things that I saw people was getting stuck. They were stuck. You can deliver the best product, what you deliver, and that person can have the time, the energy, the money, the education, the resources, the team members, anything and everything in front of them, and if they're stuck, it doesn't matter, right? Because stuck is stuck, whether you're earning $5,000 a month or $50,000 a month or whatever it is. If you've been doing that for a long period of time and there's no forward progress, then you're stuck, right? How do we get ourselves unstuck? And so for me was to help people understand themselves first and foremost. What are we looking at from an individual perspective? We have anywhere from 50,000 thoughts. When we're talking even about meditation, getting back to that for just a second, is here we go. Meditation really just slows our thoughts down. We have anywhere from 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day.
Yes.
And those thoughts are the same thoughts that you had the day before and the day before and the day. It's the
But
thoughts that
70 or 80% is what you thought about the day before.
We're not even consciously thinking those thoughts. And then, so then we're wondering why somebody's really upset. And I've experienced this myself. Like, I've been in a moment where I was trying to preach to somebody and I was really upset and I'm having that conversation with myself. That person's not even there. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. Why am I upset? And that's what we could do. And so Inventiva came to that being to help individuals to see what they're doing and not doing and who are they really being and what part of them are they not really owning. Because until we own who we are, until we fully accept who we are, until we own our gifts, until we see that we are also the ones that are responsible 100%, nothing happens to me. It happens for me. And when I can take it to that next level, what is it? What's blocking me? Why am I choosing? And sometimes we choose not to see certain things, right? Because we're consciously choosing. Sometimes I watch people walk around and they're like, Rocio, I can't take a step. And I'm like, okay, you're perfectly healthy. Why wouldn't you be able to take this step? Or why would you not be able to do this? I get curious. Not that I ask that question. I ask myself that question. Why does this person, why are they not able? What do they see? What are the invisible roadblocks? Because again, we're a prisoner in our own mind. And just think about it, like Charlie, you're hanging on to those prison bars. And yet, there are no walls. You've been free all this time. And we start thinking about, it's because I'm this way because somebody told me this 25 years ago, and I'm like, wow, 25 years, that person hasn't been able to move from that particular situation. They're replaying it in their mind, and this is what meditation does. It slows us down. And we also get to choose in that moment as we choose to think something different and something new. And that's when I talk about leadership. I just love the fact that I have the privilege to be able to help shine light. I don't do anything for people. Just get that straight. I don't teach anyone anything. I help them return to who they are, who they were meant to be.
Yes.
And that is it. They're like that tree right out there. That tree, when it was a seed, it was always destined to be that tree. It was always destined to have that type of leaf and branch and fruit and flowers and whatever it is bearing. My only job is to help that person remember who they are.
That's brilliant. I love that metaphor. I love saying that. The idea that tree was always in that seed anyway. That whole thing. I mean, you can't. The genetic and the size of it and where it was going to be and the size of the flowers and the leaves, it's already in there. And just returning people back to that essence, I think, is so fabulous, absolutely fabulous. And leadership is something that is, I think we all have the capacity for it. And we can identify it in some people. And some people, they're able to show it very well. Others are not. Others are, maybe they're more introverted. Maybe they're a little bit more quieter and kind of standing towards the back a little bit. Rocio, how do you identify untapped talent in someone, untapped leadership potential in someone, and help them to create and to tap into their leader potential driven by their passion?
I love that. So one of the greatest things I discover when working with people, Charlie, is that you can put anyone in front of me. Give me one word. Just tell me hello. I'll tell you whether you're having a good day or bad day. Give me 3 minutes in front of that person and I can tell you whether they're geared negatively or positively. And I can typically identify anywhere from the 3 to 5 areas of their life or specific things where they're stuck. Now, to get them to honor reflect, because me sharing that with somebody doesn't do them service. Okay, let's get that one straight. That person reflecting and figuring out where it's coming from, that's where the gold point is. That's my only job. That may take me 8 hours. That may take me 16 hours. And as I'm working with an individual, we block 8-hour days. We'll block 1 to 2 8-hour days, and I always tell people, we're blocking 10 hours that day. Because I want to complete the process. We're in the middle of the process. Don't go and hang out and like schedule your dinner and your movie and your whatever. No. You're staying with me here now the full time. And it's been extraordinary when individuals start to see for themselves what's there. That's one of my favorite questions. What are you seeing for yourself? What are you discovering? What's now possible? And people start going through like, wow, I'm doing this with my wife. I thought it was an issue with my husband. I see now that I'm doing it with my wife, I'm doing it with my friends, I'm doing it with my siblings. It's like, oh wow, tell me more about that. And so when that person starts telling me more, I'm like, well, how would you like to show up instead? How do you choose to show up instead? Because it's a commitment. It's not like I'm going to step in here and say, well, you go do this. No, advice only serves the person that gives it. And that's an ego boost, right? And when we start to figure out, it's like, what is it for you? What are you committed to? Who do you want to show up as? I've seen miracles happening over and over again. People come to me literally sometimes 12 hours later and they're like, Rocio. And I have 3 minutes to take a phone call and they're like, let me just tell you all these things that are going on. I'm like, whoa, I love it. I live for that every day. To know that people's lives are amazing. To know that now we become the observer of what would have gone in automatic pilot, which are 50 to 70,000 thoughts a day. As we've been chatting here, we've had anywhere from 35 to 48 thoughts a minute. And depending on who you are and who I am, is also going to depend on the level of conversation that we have. So if I'm geared negatively, of course I'm going to be chatting about all the negative things, right? But if I'm an optimist, right, and somebody that's excited about life, that's going to be different. And somebody who's interested. You're better off to be interested. And just to let people be in that space where they auto-reflect and discover, and then they tap into levels of awareness. Like, wow, I want to be unstoppable. Here's from my second book that I'll be releasing from the Ripple Effects, Daily Practices for Extraordinary Life. And that being where they try on this exercise, that 21 question exercise, and they call me, I'm unstoppable. I had somebody who I met with them on Wednesday, the private coach to release that. They purchased the book and I released that exercise to them. And by 7:30 a.m. on Thursday, they're like, I'm unstoppable. And they're on the phone. They're like, I'm unstoppable, right? Because everything does shift us. Things matter. Conversations matter. These opportunities matter. When we can see that for ourselves, then life completely changes. When we change the way we look at life, we then look at change.
Oh, that's Wayne Dyer, right? Love it. Yes. Love it, yes. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And when I first heard that, I was, and I've worked with people who suffer from trauma and PTSD and a lot of violence, abuse in their relationships or in their childhood or the military. And there's a process when we get out of the trauma and moving into when you're in trauma, you can't think about creating. You're trying to get through the trauma. You're trying to get, and it usually trauma is an opportunity for transformation. The opportunity to transform your life often accompanies trauma. And so working through and getting people to that place, yes, but when they get to that place where they can finally I've got myself back. I can feel safe in my body again. I'm okay. My life and future is ahead of me. Then all of a sudden, these ideas start to percolate. They start to get deep into their soul, into their skin, and it's amazing the transformations that can happen. How do you help people to rediscover their passions, their talents, their skills, and apply it to their work? Do you have a secret formula that helps people to do this?
Yes and no. Okay. Yes and no. The short and then the long answer, yes and no. Because everybody's process is different. I take them through a process, and the questioning process, what reveals itself in that moment of interviewing, inquiry, and curiosity is really what leads the process. Because it's not the same process for everybody. Nothing has meaning except the meaning we give it. I want to take a step back and come back to this question. When we talk about people being in survival mode, which is what you're talking as well, which is inside of my book right there, talk about how the mind, and when we go into thriving mode, what does that look like? When we go into survival mode, what does that look like? When we look at chapter 3, page into that, page 18, we start looking at different areas of who we are being. And you're right, Dr. Joe Dispenza puts it beautifully. When a person goes into survival mode, it's like that gazelle that's running in the wild, and all of a sudden it feels the fear of its life being in danger. And it thinks about 3 things immediately. It thinks about, my life is in danger. How fast can I run, and where do I go? How much time do I have to get there? And so that gazelle, 15 minutes later after the chase, it's like goes back to grazing. It goes back to its normality. Okay? Human being doesn't. We keep on thinking about it. We call Joe and Mary and Jill and Jack and whoever will. You should have seen the way my boss treated me, or the way this happened or that happened, or my coworker or whatever. And we continue to repeat that conversation. See, somebody may have said or done something to us once. We do it to ourselves. When you think about Gandhi, nobody can take your self-respect unless you give it to them. And we're the ones, that person can't actually physically make you angry, right? When we take it all back and say, is it physically possible? Is somebody get into my body, into my mind, into my emotions, stir them up and give them back over to me? They don't. We do that for ourselves, right? And so, how do I help people is take them through their own process. Most people walk out with 20 pages of notes. They figure out where they are right now. They figure out why they are where they're at. And they figure out how to create a plan for moving forward. And what's workable, but who do they want to be this forward? Because at the end of the day, it's a decision. Do I want to be a nice person if they're not a nice person? And even our feelings are a decision, right? Because we can see that, and I'm sure you've seen it. In 32 seconds, people can go into depression, depending on what somebody told me. I do this constantly in front of audiences. I tell them, show me a depressed person. I bring up somebody in front of the audience, and all immediately they go, okay, how long did that take? 1 second, okay? Immediately, right? That's a choice. That's my physiology. And when I can take control of my physiology, nobody has control of my physiology. And to expect somebody else to make us happy and bring that into us doesn't serve us, or to have a boss or somebody else work on it for themselves so that they can show up for us. It's like putting on this mask. I put on the mask right here to be around mom. I can be safe around mom right here. And then dad requires me to put on this mask, and then I'm putting mask after mask after mask, and I don't even know myself. How do I help people? Take off the mask.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Take off every mask. Every mask. Here's the mask that I was pretending to be cool or beautiful or cute or happy or whatever. Take them all off. They're who you are. Because at the end of the day, we are love and come to love and through love, right? And that's what we come to do in this world. And then when we can see that, get curious, just like Dr. Stephen Covey used to speak of, one of the things right there, we can think about our thoughts before we're not our thoughts. And we can also choose who we want to become in that moment as well. How do I become what I want to become?
The power of choice is amazing.
Power of choice.
The power of choice. You get to choose. And when you recognize how powerful choice really is, that I can allow either my past to control me and define me, or I get to define myself. But I get to choose that in this moment. I can allow all that has happened to me to make me bitter, make me angry, make me miserable, make me complain about how my life hasn't worked out the way I wanted, or I can choose to make something different. And that's how powerful choice is. And when you can switch it and being able to take off those masks like you're talking about. We like to put on masks because it makes us feel safe, or those are how we esteemed ourselves. It was a way for us to get value in life. If I put on this mask and I'm a people pleaser, then I'm going to get, some value from that. I'm constantly making everybody else happy. Or I'm going to be a codependent and I'm going to just manage everybody else's emotions. And that's how one way I'm going to be able to get value. And when you start taking off those masks, it becomes very vulnerable. But at the same time, that's where that potential, that's where your passion is, that's where your talents are, that's where your gifts are. And you've written a book talking all about this, Rocio, and it's called, you've shown it up a couple times, it's called Unstoppable.
Unstoppable. Steps to recovery more intentionally.
Yeah.
It is an international bestseller.
It's amazing.
Amazon international bestseller. So the book came out here, and it's just on that, wow, I wish I had like 100 hours with it, because I can just tap right here.
Yeah.
And I just love it. But when we were talking a moment ago about how individuals are putting on that mask and they're pleasing other people, they're also resenting people.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're getting something, there's a payout, they're getting something out of it. If I'm nice, they're going to like me. Like, are we seeking a like people, or for people to like us? Right? We can definitely write a book on any of those topics that you just shared, and that's something that's so important when both taking off that mask. What was it? How was it? Was I being safe? I remember at one point, I was at the top of my career. I had more than what I could have ever imagined. I had the car that to get the education and business. I was an empty nester. I was 33. Okay. And my life was different. And yet I didn't feel worthy. There was a moment in time, and longer story short, I was diagnosed with a brain tumor literally as I turned 34. And in that moment, triggers me, those moments of lack of awareness. It's not really what happens to us, it's how we respond to what happens to us, right? That tumor had given me an opportunity to live and grow and decide and see my life, to really evaluate it and learn from it and to figure out what's not working. Because dis-ease is just that. It's a dis-ease in the body. Something's not going on in the body, whether we're holding on to anger, resentment, shame. One of the greatest things that I work with individuals, just like myself, I didn't feel worthy of having success. I remember there was an exercise that I went to, a personal development conference, and they gave us 3 minutes to go compliment anyone and everyone about whatever it is about them. And I remember, I thought, you would have thought I was born for the trophy. I was running around like, hey, you look beautiful, or this, that, left and right. And what I didn't realize later, it took me a while to realize I was just wanting to please people. Like, I didn't feel worthy. And I was trying to make them feel better about themselves. That anytime they try to say something, I just jumped ahead and said, oh, let me mention you right here, right now, right? Because I don't need to hear it, right? So when you've been through that level of adversity, when you've been through that level of understanding life, life looks different. And that's where unstoppable comes from. And when you can understand, here in the first part of the book, right here, by the way, I dedicated this to my grandson. And by the way, my son is now 29 years old.
Wow.
That's my son. My grandson Emilio is 5 years old, and my son and his wife have known each other since they were like 15 years old. It's extraordinary. So I have this book dedicated to that. And here's some of the topics. In the very beginning of the book, part 1 is, how do we do more with less time? Number 1 is, are leaders born, or are they made? And to me, we're all leaders. We're all leaders. We don't need a title. And as a matter of fact, I truly believe that leadership is not something that is earned. It's given, right? Because you come and you take it. You take on that project. You take it, and completely selflessly. And then people will see it. It's like, well, wait until I get a promotion to become a leader. No, there are no promotions in true leadership, right? You just jump in there, you do what you do, and you move forward, regardless of the recognition. So just understanding that we all have that capacity. The second chapter in there, unlocking the secrets of the mind, is like knowing that we're geared more negative, that we're more willing to do something when something goes wrong versus than when something goes right. Like in the middle of the night, somebody's calling you at 10 o'clock at night and they say, I have great news for you, Charlie. I just got a promotion at work. And you're like, so what? Call me tomorrow when I'm awake. Right? But if your best friend is to call you at 3 o'clock in the morning and says, I'm about to get a divorce, you're like, okay, what restaurant do you want me to meet you at? Let me go chat with you. As opposed to standing there and being with their excellence and their joy and their excitement. We're more geared. We have like this undeniable desire, and we're attracted to negativity. Mm-hmm. That's our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind, even as we're standing here, it's wondering, am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? Am I safe? Mm-hmm. Right? The ego loves negativity. The ego loves it. The ego loves negativity. Yeah. And how many people do we call them? Like, there are people in my life still to today. The vast majority have made their way out of my life. There's still people in my life that call me like, let me tell you, this one person, and let me tell you the horrible things that are going on. And it's like, tell me something positive. Happiness. Anyway, there's so many different things. How to banish those feelings, how to banish those patterns that we have aligning ourselves. It provides a step-by-step process. And even I come also from the strategic planning perspective. How do you plan? Just like if this little girl who was 12 years old conceived of herself, her life, and even at the age of 5 that I become a teacher, and at 17 in university, these things are tried and they're true, and it just continues to move forward. And we're in the process of discovery, because we can learn from anything, from anyone. We can even learn from a dog or a tree or a baby.
Yeah.
When we get curious, the moment that we think we know it all is the moment that we don't know it.
Oh my gosh.
I truly believe that.
So true. That is absolutely so true. The moment you think you know that you know everything means you know nothing. I mean, it's people who are really understand and know a lot, know that they don't know very much, know that there's so much more out there, and there's a sense of humility and grace that comes along with that. And says, just wow, I'm a part of this mystery, and I don't know how I am, but I'm a part of it, and it's pretty incredible. And wow, how can I help other people to feel that kind of jubilation and euphoria just for their own existence, and being the kind of leaders to be able to hone in on that. And your book sounds fantastic. I mean, it absolutely sounds phenomenal. And I can't believe we're getting close to the end here of our conversation. I want to ask a couple more questions before we close out, Rocio. What qualities, when you're looking for leadership, and you've written this book, and you're talking about how to be unstoppable, what are the qualities that you look for in a leader? Are there certain traits that stand out?
For me, the most important thing is, are they empathetic? Do they have compassion? Are they somebody who is willing to be in a place of discomfort in order for the greater good to come out? Because sometimes life is chaos, right? Like, I wouldn't be the person that I was and who I am today if it wasn't for the person that I was and the life that I experienced back then, right? All that chaotic, it's like that pressure that kept on pushing against that rock that became a diamond, right? That was a hole. And all of a sudden it's here. And so just understanding that moments of perturbation, how do people deal with moments of perturbation, moments of stress, moments of difficulty? I want to know how people are doing with it. I've had a number of people that I've had the privilege to work with. And the best people are the ones who are like, is there anything else for you? They continue to ask questions. And especially when it's uncomfortable, let me seek to understand, where's this person coming from?
Yep. That was mine, and that's what we use these technology. That was always on our mind.
So that's one of the things that I really see on that journey. Are they empathetic? Are they compassionate? Are they resourceful? First of all, are they even resourceful? Before, in that order, empathetic, compassionate, resourceful. Are they somebody that's willing to move through things even when they're difficult? Or are they the type of person that's going to run away when they see the first sign of difficulty, right? Are they somebody that's giving of themselves? Are they somebody that's going to acknowledge and boost up the morale, or somebody that's going to bring them down? And that's something that's so important. If somebody's really upset and they're angry, and it means that any of us can get angry, are they willing to look at themselves, right? Because most of the time we get angry because there's something missing. What's missing? Why are we not happy?
And I think that, all of those qualities are so rich in a human being. They're so rich. And when you can cultivate those qualities and notice those traits in yourself, you want to be able to really cultivate, really be able to give it back, to give it out into the world, and to feel what it feels like when you're living in that embodied state, and you're being more compassionate, you're asking those questions, you're not letting your outside world control you or interfere with what's going on. You're able to stay balanced and stay centered, and you're doing it in integrity. I think people who have one of the key qualities that I love is people who mean what they say and say what they mean. And I think that when you can feel like you can trust somebody, and a leader has got to be someone we can trust, that we know that whether that we like it or not, they're going to tell us the truth. And I think that is such a critical component in all of our leaders, because if we want them to follow us, we've got to be able to say, to speak to their hearts and to be able to speak the truth without worrying about how it's going to be received, because that, I think, is what is most needed in times like these.
Yes, they are. And who we become at the very end of this, right? Mm-hmm. When we go all back to work, it depends on the decisions that we make right here, right now. Mm-hmm. And what decisions am I making in this moment for my boss, for myself, for everyone? Am I being that contributor, or am I just contributing? Mm-hmm. They're two different things. Am I being a contributor, or am I just contributing to everything? This is happening, right? As opposed to I'm guiding, I'm leading, I'm part of this. This is a family. This organization, we don't just come in and get paid. This is not somewhere we come and get paid. This is something that we create. People's lives and livelihoods and experiences and everything is tied into an organization, right? If that organization succeeds, then that individual is going to succeed. And imagine if everybody comes to work like that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh my God, what a concept. Where you're collaborative, where you're working together, you're all on that same team, you're motivated, you're excited, and you're willing to give to the vision. Do you think imagination plays a big part in being a leader? I mean, is it important to be able to have a vision for what it is that you're working towards?
Most definitely. And here's one of my favorite sayings: to have sight doesn't mean we have vision. Mm-hmm. Okay. And to have vision doesn't mean we have insight. And that to have insight doesn't mean we have foresight. Just like knowledge doesn't mean we have wisdom. And even wisdom doesn't mean we have the foresight, right? Completely into that. How do we see ourselves many, many steps possible? Because here you may be sharing, as a leader, you may be sharing this dream, and all of a sudden nobody's listening. Mm-hmm. How do you speak in a way, in a language that's going to help individuals? How do you get into a person's world if you don't even know who they are, right? I've been that person. I've been a president of an organization where the very people that I was guiding, who knew me for 2 years, didn't even know I had a son, right? How wild is that? Right. When we're talking about our humanity, right? Where today I can sit in front of someone and have a meeting with that person for 20, 30, 40 minutes, really get into their world that would have normally taken me a year or 2 or maybe even 4, because I only seen them 4 times or 5 times or 6 times. We never really built a relationship. We never got into authenticity and vulnerability and connection. As opposed to right here, right now, 20, 30 minutes, life is great. Now I can really get into their world. Now I know what really touches, moves, inspires them, keeps them awake at night. You know, for me, I get up in the morning, I'm like, wow, I'm ready to serve. I'm ready to serve.
I love it. I love it. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you, Rocio?
Most definitely. They can call me. They can call me, text me, email me. You can call me at 303-587-8367. Go to my radio voice. 303-587-8367. You can also email me. Please let me know where you heard me. And that email is rocio at the word invent, IVAconsulting.com. Again, that's rocio at the word invent, IVAconsulting.com. Inventiva Consulting.com.
Will you come back onto the show? I'd love for us to be able to.
Be back on your show. I'm honored to be back on your show.
I think there's so much we didn't even get a chance to cover today, and I think there is so much you have to offer and share, and you inspire just what is inside of us. You inspire people to achieve their best, to motivate them, to aspire beyond what they think they're capable of doing and being. And I would just love for you to be able to come back on the show if you could.
I would love to be part of the show again. Yes, thank you.
Folks, thank you so much for tuning in to the council today. I want to thank KUHSdenver.com. KUHS, the stream. We are broadcasting live here in Denver, Colorado, and all across the nation, all across the world. We're being listened to on this show in so many different countries, all around the world. Every 2 weeks you tune in. Thank you so much for doing that. It's an honor and a privilege to be your host. We will be back in 2 weeks. Quickly, Rocio, I always ask my guests right before we close the show, if there is one piece of advice, one bit of wisdom from your life experience, what would it be?
Wow, I'm going to say two, because I love that. So one piece of advice would be to be curious about life, be curious about others. And the second thing, accept all of who you are. The good, the bad, the ugly, the everything. Adversity is really what brought us here. I wouldn't be half the woman if people around me would have been a tenth of who they could have been, right? And so that led me to be who I am today. So just own all that adversity, own your life experiences, show up like you own it. Show up like you own it everywhere you go.
I love it. Yes, show up in your life like you own it. You own your life.
Yes, like you belong
yes,
there.
You belong
there because we do.
We do. You belong. You belong.
We belong.
All right, folks. Thank you so much. The council is adjourned. May you all be well. May you all be free of pain and suffering. May you all be whole. We will see you again in 2 weeks. God bless.